Hey, everybody, happy holidays. And who's happier than people who bet on the Broncos? Notre Dame fans?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to After the Horn. Ron Zapolo, Tom Greenwoody Page. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. I thought I'd start early.
You're sort of premature.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, I am. I've heard that before, Woody. No, let's not go there. That's not true.
Well, it's so good for the Broncos that teams are talking about when they come in here to play the Broncos, they have never heard crowds like that. They have kind of taken over from the Chiefs and the Seahawks of having the loudest stadium in the NFL.
That's good.
And we're only like 4 or 5 years away from when there was premature evacuation at every game.
What are we doing here? Should we start over again?
Well,
My
they got
God.
3 out of their final 4 at home, and they, did we learn anything by the way they beat the Raiders?
Yeah, we did. We learned
Well,
one
that
thing.
was also a home game.
Yeah, it
by
was.
the way.
We did learn one thing. What the hell was Pete Carroll doing kicking a field goal on the last play of the game? Let's get right to it because the game is forgettable.
Well,
we learned nothing. The game didn't matter. It was a scrimmage.
Even the penalty that set that up.
The penalty and the kick, I ask both of you. Maybe you guys aren't as cynical as I am. What the hell was up with that?
It was a little grimy. It was a little grimy at the end there. I mean, all the money changed hands in the matter of those final seconds.
And that Val Michaels was doing the game, he would have gone ballistic.
Well, maybe to defend him in this situation, that he felt like if the tiebreakers,
That's a loaded hit. Yeah. They're the worst team in the NFL.
Yes, but if it gets down, it's toward
point
the 6
differential.
or 7 is point differential. That you never know.
In this era of sports leagues, being in bed with gambling, these are the things. And I can give you another one from Sunday after we're done with this one. But when you do something like that, you open up Pandora's box.
Seems like Dave Portnoy might have had the Broncos.
I think Portnoy might have had the Broncos -7.
Might have, or 7.5.
7.5,
yeah,
excuse me.
It was right
I
there.
just think it's a bad look for the NFL. And they really need to think long and hard about.
But they can't. What are they going to do if they look into it? Now they're saying there is something there.
Did you find it? What did
It
you
was
think when you watched it?
completely grimy. The whole thing.
It was ugly. You listen. That's not a good look. I understand college football when you're playing the Little Sisters of the Poor and the number is 30 and the head coach wants to make all the alumni happy and they run it up. This is the NFL.
But in real life, Pete Carroll would have run a play if he wanted to do something.
Yes.
They wouldn't have kicked a field goal.
No.
They would have said, let's throw it in the end
But
zone.
let's throw the officials into this.
Yeah.
Because if you want to, what's kind of left out of this is they called game delay on the defensive team.
Absurd.
in a game that's settled.
Yeah.
What did it make you think?
It made it feel like
For
it was,
those that
but
have
even the
conspiracy
Broncos.
theories.
Let me ask you guys.
Sean Payton had a hand in that too, not kicking
Do
field
you
goals.
ever think in your career or your career that you ever covered a game, not a World Wrestling Federation event, an actual game that we went to that was fixed?
No.
No? I say yes.
Well, I guess the
I have one in
Sacramento
mind.
Lakers series felt fixed.
I've seen it throughout the years, and I also know people who played in certain games, people that we all know who are convinced that they played in games that were fixed.
There was a situation with we talked before we went on the air about Doug Moe, and Doug Moe playing against the Lakers, and he told his team not to play defense. Remember that?
Yes.
In a game?
I think it was against
Portland. It was up in
okay.
Portland.
He was
yeah.
so pissed off
Told him
about
to
the way they
stand
were
there.
playing. He said, "Don't do anything. Don't stop
No,
it."
and then they guarded, and he called a timeout.
Called
and
a
yelled at
timeout.
him for.
He yelled at.
I told you
they
not to guard
guarded.
anybody.
He called a timeout and said, "You guys don't listen." I said, "God damn
Now,
it!" I
that's
said,
one.
"Don't just stand there."
That was one that you could, having covered it, I had the wrong city, but having covered that game, you go, man, the gamblers and
He got suspended.
And he got suspended.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to get suspended?
And Doug Moe shouldn't have done it. And as much as all three of us love Doug, and he's living in San Antonio, and people stay in contact with him all the time in their own fantasy teams with him. But he was suspended from playing in the NBA, not because he did anything wrong on the court, but he was approached by gamblers, and he and Connie Hawkins, who turned out to be a great player and was a great player in college, were banned from the NBA because they didn't report
They didn't turn them in.
having gamblers come to them.
I think the hard thing is when you really look at fixing games, the complicating factor becomes how many people have to be involved to actually fix a game. And that the back judge, side judge, whoever decided that flag at the end of the game, because that's what permitted Pete Carroll then to have the opportunity to kick the field goal and cover the number. Now, if you're Pete Carroll and you're the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders and people are your fans and they've bet on your team, maybe you know we can't win this game, but my best way to cover for my fans.
Now, let me ask you,
he's not supposed to know or care about the line.
Is that okay?
I understand it. No, I don't know that it's okay, but I understand it.
Because
if I'm Pete Carroll, he's been around.
That you just probably laid out the most plausible explanation for what happened there.
Yeah, I'll throw a bone to my silver and black fans.
Yeah, I'm going to. You know what? We've won 2 games all year. These people are here. I'm going to at least give them this.
I hadn't thought about that, but it's a real intriguing aspect of it, because I thought at the end of the game that you have a guy on the sideline that comes over and says, hey, our running back needs 10 more yards to reach 100 yards. There's somebody that's always there with statistics for the coach and says, yeah, you need to put the guy back in and let him throw 2 more passes. But do you think there might have been a guy that said, Pete, do you know what the line is? I
think Pete knew what the line was. I think
most
of those
players
guys.
But Pete was involved in college in some very shaky situations, involved with a Heisman Trophy winner and others. And I don't think he should be putting himself in a position where he could be questioned about this.
Can I give you another one? I'm watching the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game.
Oh, man.
I saw not 1, not 2, but 3 calls that were more than debatable, which is fine. They all went against the same team. And when it's 2 minutes to go in the game, and again, I don't know what a catch is anymore, but when a guy catches the ball in the end zone,
1, 2,
hangs
3.
onto it, makes a couple of steps, the DB who was beat 5 minutes ago knocks it out of his hands, the back judge goes touchdown, and a minute later it's incomplete.
It doesn't smell great.
That's not letting the players determine the game.
Here's another thing, because we're old enough. Gambling used to be a subculture in sports, and now it's, of course, mainstream.
Sure.
And everybody's got a dime on the game. Not everybody, but so many more people now have a dime on the game. And so when you see stuff like what you talked about with Baltimore-Pittsburgh, or you see what happened at the end of the Broncos-Raiders game, I think it has a much broader impact than it used to. It used to be just the guy Nicky on the corner cared what happened, and now it's Debbie in Highlands Ranch had something on the game too, and she's going, what happened?
Yeah.
Ron, and Tom, what happened was, okay, the final score is not enough. How about if we have the point total?
Right.
Okay, we'll add that. How about if we have a halftime score?
Yeah.
How about if we have prop bets?
Let's get plenty.
How about in an NBA game, if a guy doesn't try 10 shots during the course of the game, how could they possibly fix something like that? Well, Michael Porter Jr.'s brother figured that out in a hurry and reached out. I've got a financial problem, guys. I'm going to take 8 shots in this game, not any more than that. It's gone beyond the realm of
manageability.
When I started covering sports 60 years ago, where someone would come to me and say, do you want to bet on a game? I said, no, I don't know what. I think I know more than most everybody that's gambling.
Right.
Well, I didn't, because I met a guy in Vegas that was ahead of a sports book, and he was cheating on the side, ended up in prison. His name was Joey Boston. You'll appreciate that.
Like it.
And he came to Denver to see me, and I said, let me take you to a Broncos practice. And I go out there, and they go, you're bringing a sports book guy to practice? Now,
back then.
Now they are involved. We are the official betting.
Yeah.
We're the casino in Blackhawk that's in bed with the Broncos.
Let's talk about the Broncos also. One more quick thing I want to mention. I feel bad for Geno Smith, and I never have in my life, but he kept getting up all year long. He keeps getting up, and it's unfair to ask him to play quarterback on that team.
Can I tell you who else I feel bad for? I feel bad for Daniel Jones, who went out there on a broken bone in a leg and earned the respect of all of his teammates. And I don't know enough. I'm not a doctor, but I wonder if doing that contributed to him snapping his Achilles.
Opposite leg, but still, you're doing everything
you're
carefully.
Compensating. Yeah. And I watched that, and I don't know Daniel Jones, but I felt horrible for him. He's a free agent at the end of the year. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but felt bad.
I felt sorry for Dizzy Dean. He broke a toe, and he
Blew his
changed
arm.
his pitching on the mound, and his career was over, except he had a better career
as a
You
broadcaster.
know, to be as old as us.
Can I ask you one thing about the Broncos?
Yeah.
Why is it that the Broncos and the Patriots, who have the two best records in pro football, and have both of them played their ass off, why are they both home underdogs this weekend?
Well, they're playing teams that are heavily backed. People like to back Buffalo, and the Pack fan was
teams that have not played as well or consistently as those two teams have.
They both had big wins the week. Buffalo and Green Bay both did register big wins this past weekend. They
but I think it says, Tom, it says that the wise guys, who are wise guys for a reason, are not yet sold on New England and Denver. And we talked about this last week.
We're not.
We're not.
But I'm not going to let this go on. Do you think people are cheating? Do you think coaches are cheating?
You want to go back to that?
Officials? We brought it up to the pinnacle of this discussion. I mean, is that happening among players? Do you think there are NFL players that are throwing games and saying, I'm not going to make this field goal? Or do you think officials are calling? I mean,
here's
really?
my answer. I don't know. And the answer should be absolutely not. But the answer for me is I don't know. And when things like what happened Sunday happen, all it does is feed into the notion that something is amiss.
Well, it was notable, I thought, that the official who threw the flag at the Broncos' end of the game was Tim Donaghy. He's come back.
People don't know.
What do you think?
When I started doing this for a living, I didn't think it was possible. It had happened. It happened with the University of Kentucky, when they won in 1948 or something.
Right.
That the players were cheating.
Well, CCNY.
It's been happening.
I have to believe. That's why I brought this up. Yes, I'm seeing it in the NBA. We're seeing it in basketball. We're seeing it with a guy who we all know really well. They grew up in Denver. I'm talking about Chauncey Billups.
So why wouldn't it be true in the NFL?
Chauncey Billups, of all the people in the world that we know, not of all the people in the world, but all the people in sports, we would think that we would not consider that there were issues that he would have in terms of gambling, either in basketball or at a poker table. I mean, I played golf with the guy all the time. I knew him. He went to school with my daughter. So I have to say yes.
Yeah.
I have to say yes
I'll
now.
make your point, too. We have part-time officials in the NFL. And there's so much money involved in the National Football League. When I see somebody throw a flag like that, it just makes me wonder.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
It doesn't take much to get to somebody.
It's not even the truth. It's the specter, the specter of the possibility.
But to answer your question, you say yes. I say I'm not sure, but I know we've seen it in the NBA.
I promise you within the next year, we'll see 2 or 3 more gambling situations that develop in the
You're
leagues.
right.
I mean, how can you have 2 pitchers for the Cleveland, whatever
Indians,
they're called now?
Guardians.
Guardians. 2 pitchers were
See, okay,
throwing.
but that's a good
We're
point.
not throwing games; they were throwing pitches.
Individual pitches.
Well, they've got one thing that these leagues have to do. You got to outlaw these prop bets where you're allowed to make bets on a single pitch, or you're allowed to bet on whether Jonte Porter gets 2 points in a game. All those bets should be thrown out.
Well, that's always been the problem. They always said Vegas wanted a clean game. They always needed a clean game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people aren't going to bet. If they think they're putting their money into fixes, then they're not going to bet. And that, they need their as big a handle as they can get. So it was not a good look this weekend in the NFL.
I have to throw in one. I went in Florida decades ago to Highlight.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bet on, no, it was in Mexico. You can bet on Highlight as the match is going on. After a point, you can, and they had tennis balls with the betting workers, that would throw it to you. And it was cut open.
Yeah.
And you could put $5 in it and throw it back to him and go, the next point's going to be down, or something like that. And I went, man, I would never bet on Highlight in my whole life. That is so illegal, what's going on in legal Highlight. And if you never saw a Highlight, I would see the players actually look up and see what the odds were.
Right.
Yeah.
And a guy that could climb a wall, if you've ever watched Highlight, he could climb a wall and do a return shot, would just let it float past him. Yeah. And I go,
I was told, I worked in Connecticut when they had frontons there, so there was that gambling was going on. And they said, it's all fixed. So the only way you can win betting at the fronton is to follow the players' wives to the window. Do whatever. I'll have what she's having. That's the way to go.
Do you think the NFL is concerned about what the Raiders did at the end of the game?
Well, they have to be. I mean,
Really?
I don't know if they are publicly, but I would think that somewhere someone is going.
Well, then I'll tell you what they should do. They should publicly make a statement about it.
Ooh.
And they should reaffirm that everything is fine and that here's what happened at the end of that game.
Yeah.
And they should. Because if people like us are talking about it and questioning it, the NFL should address it. They shouldn't keep it under the rug.
No.
They should say, hey, we talked to Pete Carroll. Here's what he was thinking. We talked to the official.
You're right.
Here's what he was
You're
thinking.
absolutely right. That's what should be done.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a situation like that now, you should have, and they do, they have
Transparency.
investigators on their staff and say,
let's find out.
We're having a timeout on this because you mentioned guys in Vegas, they want a clean game.
Yeah, they need it.
Don't want so you're saying to people, and we've seen these betting operations say, we're not going to take your money for this game because it was sneaky at the end of the game. We're giving back money. It's become so prominent in this country when Congress said you could have legal gambling, that you can go. We have a friend who was fired because he was betting with a barber in Denver. More than one friend. And that's what gambling used to be, is you go to the barbershop or at newspapers. If you wanted to make a bet, you go back in the printers. Yeah. One of them was always a bookie.
Yeah.
And you could go back there and say, how do I get $10 on this game? And I never did it. I don't know why I didn't. I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be, I'd have my own island somewhere in the Caribbean.
I'm thinking of taking up smoking.
Yeah.
And gambling.
It's all good.
Hey, let's talk about the Broncos' final 4 games. You mentioned the Green Bay and Jacksonville coming to town. They go to KC for a short week, Christmas night, and then they get the Chargers here. 4 winnable games, 4 losable games. This is where they've walked the razor's edge all season long. Obviously it appears at this point that, they may have to win them all if they want to be the number 1 seed. And
why is that so? Because the other team,
because New England's playing the AFC East still. They've had a soft schedule. Theirs stays soft. This is the Broncos' hardest 4-game stretch of the season.
I think the Patriots are going to go 3-1. I think the Broncos are going to go 2-2.
And so the Patriots will get the number 1 seed.
So the Broncos have to go, in my mind.
Here's the deal.
3-1.
Okay, if the Broncos go 2-2, It depends what 2 games they lose.
Yeah.
Because if one of those games is against Jacksonville, they could end up behind Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, obviously the Chiefs game isn't as important, and it's an odd game. There'll be.
Are the Chiefs done, by the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But the puzzle pieces have moved. They move every week with how they need all this stuff.
That's Andy Reid saying, "No, we're not done."
So this is when we have our specials. We ring the bell. We let everyone know in the aisle
Down
7.
the aisle 7. Those little hot dogs are so good.
They're ready now.
The $100 winner can come forward.
But you think of the Jacksonville and the Charger game are probably the 2 most important games. Green Bay's funny, I think. I talked about it a little bit last week on the betting show because Green Bay's got the Bears on either side of it, and they played a terrific game with the Bears last week.
To play Green Bay,
they
right?
get the Bears again next week, and it's not like you can say the Broncos are a trap game. The Broncos are leading the NFL, but it'd be very interesting to see. Green Bay doesn't need that game as much.
You make a good point. We saw it last Saturday. Indiana played Ohio State at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect time. And the same thing may play true in Denver because Green Bay is playing 2 huge games back-to-back sandwiched in between the Denver game.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. They're going to have to play their best game of the year maybe to beat Green Bay because they haven't been tested. They've been close games, but they haven't played great football teams.
Would you take 2-2 now? Because there's a possibility of them losing 4 games.
Sure.
And I'm not sitting here being anti-Broncos, but these are 4. This is now considered the 4th most difficult finishing schedule. 3rd?
Yep.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's
3rd
or 4th.
Yeah.
That they could lose to Green Bay, who's leading the division. The Chiefs want to. They're not going to
roll over.
Yes, and Jacksonville is not laughable. Jacksonville is again. We're talking about a division leader, and you got the Chargers,
who may still be alive
for the division.
Will be playing for a wild card or for the division. So this is a difficult.
Having
stretch.
3 of those at home, though, you kind of think 2-2 would be the bottom for the Broncos.
I was not impressed with the Broncos Sunday. That was just.
I don't think you saw the full package, though. I think you saw the Broncos play to beat
But you
the
couldn't
Raiders.
have been impressed by that.
I thought Bo Nix, it was one of the best days I'd seen him as far as making decisions and throwing the football on time, on target. And it was easier against the Raiders. And
you got to get him. Teams talk about we got to get the quarterback out of the pocket. We got to force him out of the pocket. Teams want him to stay in the pocket because he throws his best when he's on the run,
and he can run. And it's. It seems like he's hesitant to do so.
I'm a little bit with Woody on this. I kind of throw out the Raider game because it's just not. You can't make any decisions or any assessment based on playing a team that I think right now is clearly the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah,
Tennessee's
disarray.
better. Yeah, they're just in disarray. And you just throw that out. These next 4 games will tell us all we need to know about the Broncos. And to Woody's point, if they go 2-2 and they finish 13-4, I think at the beginning of the season you would sign up for that.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, they got 4 games left, and then they have a postseason. Notre Dame has no games left. Notre Dame was the story this weekend in college football.
I'm not laughing at Notre Dame. I'm just laughing at the predicament.
My transition there. But that's the thing. Notre Dame is the bigger story that they got stiffed, or is the bigger story that they just took their ball and went home?
The bigger story is option 3, how screwed up college football is. I mean, on so many levels. Let's start with this. Going forward, let's get a 16-team field. But more importantly, and let's stop it there. Okay, stay at 12 then. No. Stay at 12.
No.
But here's what I think they should do. In this high-tech world in which we live, I don't need 9 70-year-old guys in a room like us saying who played who, what. You take all the information, you put it into the computer, and they will spew out the 12 best teams, because we now have a situation where we don't have the 12 best teams, and we've got 2 games coming up where one team is a more than a 20-point favorite over the other team. That's not what this was supposed to be.
And coaches are moving and everything else.
The whole system is screwed up.
Well, there's on several different levels. I need to talk about that. That's why I was laughing. Is the computer a few years ago was what you depended on, not me, but that's what the college football playoff depended on, was the computer. They took it away from it. They put it in the hands of people that are getting fired at their own school and are making decisions on this. The second point I want to make is, if we go from 4 to 12, there'll never be any arguments at all because you can get you don't have any problems at all. Guess what? There are more problems with trying to pick the teams with 12. You want to put 16. Guess what? Ron told me today, if we go to 16, we won't have any problems.
I didn't say we wouldn't have any
17,
problems.
17, 18, 19, and 20 years.
If we go to 64,
kiss my ass, you left me out of this.
If we go to 64, there'll be a problem.
So I once said in a column that I thought every NCAA Division I team should get to go to the big dance.
Right.
And everybody said, "You're an idiot." And I said, we wouldn't have those discussions of, the team was left out. Just let them all play. I actually went to my daughter, who was a mathematician, and she figured out that it would take like 10 more days to play the tournament. Mm-hmm. You could eliminate the college conference playoffs at the end of the year.
Sure.
And just take everybody into it.
Well, these student athletes need to be in the classroom.
I got a call from a guy. He said, I'm the SID at Indiana. And I said, great. He said, Bob Knight would like to talk to you. I remember sitting I lived in Cheeseman Park, and I'm sitting there, Bob Knight wants to talk to me. I'd met him a couple of times. And he said, I hate people in the press. And I said, yes. I'm ready for you. And he said, you are right. He said, you are absolutely right. Just put everybody in there, then you have no question. We don't have any, 70-year-old men, computers. Nobody, just put everybody in. He said, you can have some, buys, and you can figure it out. He said, we figured it out here. It takes a week and a half longer, 2 weeks at the most.
The problem is college basketball. UMBC can beat Duke.
Right. On the Thursday.
Yeah, James Madison can't beat Oregon.
So, but it also, the broader impact being we also see all of these, the Metamucil Bowl and the Raisinets Bowl and all these things are all.
Seen them all.
Well, I mean, their teams, everyone's turning them down now, and I don't have any players, my coach is leaving.
It's the beginning of the end of the bowls.
Yeah, and it's.
I think.
Well, here's a suggestion for that. Play the bowls at the beginning of the year. And you're going to laugh at me, but
no, I'll laugh at you. Go ahead.
These cities want to have these bowls. They were in control of college football no longer, but Tucson and Jacksonville, Florida, and Nashville, Tennessee, Memphis, where I grew up. Let those be the beginning. That's when you can play James Madison or whatever, or play really good games, and they don't count. They could be an exhibition. You play a bowl, but what's happened now is Notre Dame said, why should we go to a bowl? A, we're going to split the money with the ACC. Secondly, our players get kits.
You get
they get some prizes.
A scarf.
They don't need that.
Headphones.
They're already being paid $30,000 a week to play football. They don't need your Xbox that you're going to give them or whatever it might be. The bowl games have no reason to live anymore. There's no reason. The Rose Bowl, the daddy of them all.
Well, they could also use the bowls if they did go to, like Ron's idea of 32 teams.
All right. Here's another.
64. He wants 64 teams.
64 teams.
Guys, I'll give you another problem. Okay. Either these conference title games count, or they don't count. Now I know why they play them. Money.
Yeah.
But Alabama can get their doors blown off.
-3 rushing yards.
And it's all good. It doesn't count.
You're in.
BYU loses a second game to the same team, Texas Tech. That game does count.
Oh, no, yeah.
So let's decide. If it's up to me, I would get rid of all the conference title games because you shouldn't have teams who sat at home and prospered because somebody played a conference title game and got beat.
Yeah, Miami had a great week.
So I'm watching
So
Indiana.
did Oklahoma. A lot of teams
without
did.
playing.
I'm watching Indiana and Ohio State, and I said, at the end of the game, two teams, all their fans are rushing the field because they're still going to be 1-2,
Yeah.
and they're probably going to end up playing
Here's the
against
point.
each other. There
That was a meaningless game.
It was, because one of them is going to be
Meaningless.
1 and one of them is
It was
going to be
2.
2. You've won the conference championship. Who gives a shit
cares?
about winning the conference championship? You only want to be in the playoff. You want to have a chance to play again, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to both be on. I looked at the brackets. They're not going to play each other till a final game,
And they may.
You could see it again.
Yeah.
And I told somebody that I'm watching the game with, I said, and Ohio State will win because it's so difficult when you're that close, which they were. You would agree that to beat them again. And I said,
Ohio State will dominate them if they play
I would
again.
think so.
yeah, I think Ohio State will win the next
We'll
time
see what
they
happens
play.
on the way there. See if they can get there.
But they got problems in college football, and you know what? They need a czar or a commissioner, somebody who really cares about the game.
Who would that be?
Well,
Who
I'll
would-
give you just one
me a
name.
name.
Nick Saban, who's out of it, who I watch on Saturday mornings.
Very
and I
good
like
on TV,
a
and he
lot of-
doesn't have
he's
to make any big decisions.
good on television. He has good opinions. I know he cares about the game, and I know he cares about trying to do what's right. They need someone who can give them some direction and put them on the right path, because they're not on the right path.
Would you want
right now.
that job? It sounds
No.
like an awful job.
Nick Saban might want it, though.
Yeah, maybe.
He-
And he would also come in with the gravitas, maybe, to actually be
How
listened
about,
to.
Yes, people would listen
Peyton,
to him.
How about Peyton Manning?
He'd be another one I would consider. I don't know how close he is to college football like Saban, but he'd be another one that would be good.
But yeah, it's
Of
going to have
course
to be
he's close.
someone.
He's the one who stepped up immediately after Colorado State just happened.
I
just
know.
had a new coach, and he's doing a TikTok
Yeah,
about
Jim Mora.
Jim Moore.
Yes.
I think it's tricky now because obviously we've seen in the last 5 years the NCAA doesn't matter anymore.
No.
The conferences go where they want to go and do what they want to do, and then all of a sudden you have this college football playoff committee that I think got its legs cut out from under it this
Yeah.
week. Like their say so and people believing in them took a big hit this weekend.
I've got another name for you, though. If you're looking for, you used to think, well, let's get somebody from Congress. Nobody wants anybody from Congress.
Okay.
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Would you make him a czar?
Hey, you know who?
I think he's a basketball guy. I
got-
think he loves basketball.
I got a guy for you. Guy who I think would be great at this. He's not doing anything right now. Is Phillip Rivers. He's now a grandfather. He's sitting at home. He played in NC State.
Isn't he coaching a team, though?
A high school
Probably
team.
a high
I think he's
school
been
team.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's a team, yeah.
So Phillip Rivers is back in the mix, fellas. The Indianapolis Colts, you described Daniel Jones's dilemma. Riley Leonard gets hurt, and he wasn't the answer anyway.
Brett Rippon's on the practice squad there.
He's hurt too, I think. But he's
The fact that Phillip Rivers is being floated out there,
44 years old.
what does that tell you about the dearth of quarterbacks in the National Football League?
I saw one person say there should be a rule that you're allowed to have Joe Flacco play for you for 4 games. It's like he's like the league's emergency quarterback.
Well, the truth is, I see why they went for Phillip Rivers. Mark Sanchez wasn't available.
Especially in Indianapolis.
Phillip Rivers, I mean, isn't Fran Tarkenton
He's not- he
still
doesn't
got
wanna-
eligibility?
Think about that. How would that be? That would be big.
Now, Phillip at 44, we thought he was going to be on our show, but he was too old for our show.
Yes.
So,
But
We're laughing.
think about Phillip Rivers. I mean, he had a hockey team, five players. Then he had a baseball team.
9 players.
Now he's one away from having
Football team.
no soccer
Soccer.
The
roster,
soccer side.
I think, yeah. But
His
I think
youngest
it's
is
great
too, so he's still working at
because
it.
we have missed NFL has missed his trash talking, which never includes a curse word.
I was just going to say that one of the great stories in sports that you could talk that much trash.
How could you?
And never say.
I would stumble. I would be lost. Like,
I couldn't do
I
it.
think we got to get him on the show because he talked about that it just came out of his mouth. Chris Harris Jr. told me that he was a rookie and he intercepted a pass, and Phillip Rivers ran over to him and said, "Go back to Oklahoma where you came from." And he said, "I'm from Kansas." He said, he's trash talking me, and it's wrong trash talking. But he said he would trash talk. He would run off the field, and if trash talk the officials. He go, man, when I come back out here, I'm going to show you.
So we got through November in the National Football League, and Indianapolis and Kansas City are kind of in our mix. Indianapolis is playing great football. They look pretty sharp, and they have gone down the drain. Kansas City has fallen by the wayside, and now all of a sudden you see this surge at the bottom. And especially as a Bronco follower, you realize someone down there is going to be pretty good, playing pretty good when it comes your turn to step
like
onto the field.
Houston Texans?
Houston Texans look like a load right now.
Yeah.
They look like the best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
They
And
really
you go
do.
back a few weeks when we were sitting here talking about Broncos fans becoming Chiefs fans to beat the Colts, and I looked at their schedule. The Colts forget about the injury problems they've had and everything. I said, there's 3 games that they're going to lose upcoming, and they have. The Texans have come out of not nowhere, but they've come out of barely somewhere.
Rough start to their season.
And
They've
that's
been good
a team
since.
that the Broncos, who beat, don't want to play again. Who do they not want to play? Would you rather play the Patriots or the Texans?
Yeah, Patriots.
Yeah, I would say that. Who else? You said before we went on air, the Ravens are no good.
No.
They're
Well,
not even-
watching the Bengals cough up that game in bizarre fashion to the Bills, they had it under control, and then Burrow suddenly throws a poor pick and a deflected ball for touchdowns, and it's but the Bengals were about to maybe make a run in that division, and the Steelers and Ravens neither look.
They're both
any
going
good.
south, and it's not going to be just for this year.
Yeah.
They're both old, and if Joe Burrow is healthy next year, I think the Bengals will win that division going away.
And then you have Shador also in the division.
Glad to see
Shador had a breakout game.
Shador is now, from what I read, going to start the rest of the year.
Of the way.
And let me ask you something. What the hell was Kevin Stefanski thinking, taking Shador off the field
After he'd taken him down the field.
Down the field, the game is on the line, and you run one of the shittiest 2-point plays ever attempted in NFL history with Judkins running around and just throwing it up. This goes back to our game.
I was going to say.
It makes me wonder what Kevin Stefanski or the Browns really are thinking about Shador.
Now, that could have also been, he might have, if he really did want to blow up the chance to win that game, that may have to do with your draft position. Because you're not, it's you and the Titans.
But it makes it look like, to some people's conspiracy theory, that they just don't like Shador Sanders.
Well, that doesn't seem more than a conspiracy theory. It seems like it's taken him forever to embrace Shador.
What's
Shador
the deal?
delivered again.
They haven't had a good quarterback there forever. He seems like he's off to a decent start. Why wouldn't you embrace that?
I would think
we are exactly 2 months away from the Super Bowl. Seems like a long time, but today, December 9th, I guess it is. Super Bowl is February 8th in Santa Clara, where the Broncos last won a Super Bowl. Who would you say belongs in? I didn't say who will be.
Right.
Who belongs?
Who belongs?
See, that's a question that's different than who will be there, but who deserves, who belongs to be.
Nobody jumps out. No. I mean, really, I'm sitting here thinking, you become recency bias. Green Bay looked good. Okay, maybe Green Bay. I don't know. In the
How about
NFC?
Green Bay and Denver? Is that a good one?
Yeah.
That has a ring to it, doesn't
That
it?
could happen. But
how about the Rams and the Patriots?
Yeah, the Rams. Sure.
They've played before, haven't they?
But I shrugged my shoulders at all of them. Like, I could see Houston.
The reason why I asked that question is because you usually can say, well, Belichick and Tom Brady, they're going to be there.
There's none of that. There's none of that. Denver's got as good a chance as anybody in the AFC.
That's the whole point of it, that it is 2 months ago.
Yeah.
No, I just said thank you. I'm happy to finally hear you guys be remotely on board with the Broncos.
Well, you have to understand where we come from. We're hardened,
bitter,
cynical, bitter journalists who enjoy being.
Oh, I know. And I come from the South Stands.
We're not cheerleaders.
Well, if you
I
come
get
from
it.
the South Stands, I really don't have any respect for you.
Good
Those people.
old days.
I sat in that
Natasha,
South
you
Stand.
haven't lived until a coach has looked you in the face and told you to get the fuck away from me.
It's kind of nice,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've always earned it, so.
We did. That's why we're not out here shaking the pom-poms. I mean, we're looking at it like everybody else does, and we're saying, hey. And I think Bronco fans, for the most part, would agree with us that while they're playing great and their record is what it is, there's room for improvement.
Certainly.
But it is nice if you did tell a Bronco fan that on December 9th, you were going to have as good a chance as anyone to win a Super Bowl. People would say, sign me up. I'll take two of those.
They've got as good a chance as anybody.
It's for sure.
Can I say one more thing?
Are you grinding your gears?
No,
or
I'm not
something
grinding
else?
my gears.
Okay.
You guys can. What has happened to Jalen Hurts? That was a
rough watch
the other
last
night.
night.
That I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. And I don't know if it's the bitching of A.J. Brown or Sirianni, but he looks like he's just not having fun, disengaged.
Two things. You said A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown could probably bitch more if he caught the ball better. He had
dropped
a
a couple the other night.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed with Jalen Hurts that you see in young quarterbacks that he was doing last night is he'd go back to pass, the pressure would come, and his eyes had come down. Yeah. He started to avoid the pressure instead of see the field. Once you do that in the NFL,
well, he did do something that's never
over.
been done. He turned it over twice in one play, which is hard to do. But you know what? That last throw in the overtime, that he's got to know he's smart. He's played. He's a Super Bowl champion. Yeah. That's not a throw you make.
Not a do or die play.
No. And now the Chargers made a great play. The corner tipped it.
Yeah.
The guy made a great pick.
Yeah.
But that's not a throw that you
threw
don't
it into
make
jeopardy.
You're down there on the 15-yard line. You've got the game. Worst case, you're going to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
I don't. He's really regressed,
and that's why Philly's not
like they were 2 years ago. Remember, they were 10-1, and they just fell apart.
That's why they're not on my list of who could be, and they certainly could get up off the deck and get there, but they don't look like a Super Bowl team these last few weeks. I mean, they've.
Can I say one more thing that relates to football?
Sorry,
I got just one more.
Okay.
Because I know we're open-ended here. You know, Monday was the 45-year anniversary of the assassination of John Lennon.
Yes.
And one of those moments where we all remember where we were, and it ties into football.
Monday night.
Because unlike the era that we live in now, Howard Cosell told the nation about this, where now on the internet and with 900 channels, and you couldn't have that. But back then, he told the country that John Lennon had been murdered.
Yeah, it's hard for people to imagine or even remember how news traveled back then.
I mean, I remember exactly
Patriots Dolphins.
Where I was is Patriots Dolphins. I was in the Channel 4 newsroom, and I was a huge John Lennon fan, and I was just stunned. And not only that it was Cosell, of all people,
who had interviewed him on Monday Night Football.
Who had interviewed him before on Monday Night Football, and he was witty and engaging and funny, and he was assimilating to the United States. He loved it here. And to think that somebody, and he was signing an autograph for that guy earlier in the night. He goes with his wife in the studio, and he comes back, and he's murdered. It was the precursor of gun violence in this country, and we've never really been able to get a handle on it.
And Cosell doing it in his own
inimitable way.
The way he said, he says, John Lennon, arguably
the most famous dead on arrival.
Yeah. We're going to go there?
Well, there's a little pressure in the moment. I mean, for one, when somebody tells Cosell, theoretically in his ear this happened, it's like, I want to make sure what you're telling me is exactly true before I blurt this out. And then you got to do it on your feet. And it's, Cosell was always so cocky.
I met Cosell once in Denver, and he was one of my heroes. I admired him, and it was one of those deals where you should never meet your heroes.
Oh yeah. Mickey
not
Mantle
great.
in my case. Yeah.
Woody Page for me.
Woody Page for you, Mickey Mantle, Cosell.
Monday night game in San Diego, and he's staying in the same resort that the Broncos were staying in. And I went up to Cosell and I said, "You got time just to talk?" He said, "No, I don't. I don't really. I don't want to be bothered by these people because there's a lot of fans here and everything." He sat his chair in the way of anybody going to the swimming pool.
You would see me. Just don't bother me.
Don't
Just
bother me.
would.
Don't bother me.
Yeah, I met him in Denver, and I shook his hand, and well, I understand that you're one of the, whatever in Denver. It's a horseshit town when they throw bricks through a TV at my vision, and you ought to be ashamed. And I was like, well, it was good talking to you, too.
That's the background of the bar Sweetwaters, right?
Yes.
That's where people used to.
Yeah,
at
they would
halftime.
throw bricks.
And you go
People
by
don't
it. For
realize
people,
how-
if you
yeah.
don't realize, yes, he
How
was. He
big it
was.
was.
They were throwing. They had bought rubber bricks to throw at the TV set.
But
And if you ever go to Hamden and Monaco,
that's
where the bar is. Because I said.
But the
there
other
one
thing,
night.
what people who would watch us now don't realize, back then, before the internet, the halftime highlights on Monday, that was the biggest thing. And if your team didn't get on there, you were pissed off.
And Denver was
And Denver was
oftentimes
often not on
yeah.
there.
Well, and that was most likely, was because they had to send the films
Yeah.
to Bristol or New York
it
City.
It was the
And
Philly to
prehistoric
NFL
age.
films. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine? It was so prehistoric then.
Well,
It-
it feels like it now, but it
Yeah.
was what it was, and it
Yeah.
was great when it was.
Yeah.
He
He was brilliant. I had a friend of mine who played pro ball, and he went on Cosell's show a couple times. I used to listen on the radio.
This is
He
Howard
would do,
Cosell.
This is Howard
Speaking of
Cosell
sports."
speaking of sports. And my friend told me that Cosell had him on his radio show, and he'd say, "Come on in. I got to do the..." And he said with no script, no nothing, he had to make it 54 seconds. And he did it all the time, right on the money. And then he would tell him, "Let's go to Sardi's and get a drink." and he was brilliant. And not only that, he stuck up for Ali when most of the mainstream press,
Yes.
way before our
Yes.
time, was like,
It's harder to
hell
do.
with him. And and he did a lot of really good things. And it's just, it's a shame that when you hang around long enough, you can get bitter and you can get. I'm not looking at
We're
you.
not bitter.
You're looking directly at you.
He had
Looking right away.
Cosell had a Saturday afternoon show,
He was on Wide World of Sports all the time.
but he also they gave him a show.
Oh, the Saturday night
The Saturday-
variety
the
show.
variety
They had a
show.
variety show, but he
Yeah.
also had another Saturday morning show because they called me. The Denver Post decided, back in the days of a newspaper war here and TV wars,
Sure.
and even radio wars, that I would cover every bowl game. You can't imagine that now with
Yeah.
every kind of vegetable and mineral that there possibly was. And so I was going to go to all. In fact, I could do the Orange Bowl one night and get to the Sugar Bowl the next morning or something like that. And so Cosell told somebody he read about this, that they were promoting it. And he said, "Get that guy on the show." My bag had been lost, and I told him I can't come on the show. I don't have it. And they said, "We'll buy you everything." So they bought me a shirt, they bought me a razor, the whole thing. And so I'm sitting at a pool in Jackson at the Gator Bowl. I'm at the Gator Bowl, and he comes on, and I go, "Man, this is a big moment for me being on with Howard Cosell." He goes, "Why?" And I can't do the impression like you do. I'd just say it. He says, "Why are you doing this?" That was his first question. Like,
That's pretty good.
What kind of idiot are you to
Why
be
would you do
doing
this?
this? Why
Can
are
I,
you doing this?
leave sports writing because you forgot more than we know. Would you say that Cosell was the greatest overall sportscaster of all time?
Well, probably the most recognizable by voice, by face, by jobs. He had those jobs. I mean, who else?
Add that
who
all
else?
up.
But who else would you put in there? Like
Vin
Costas?
Scully.
Would you put?
I would put Vin Scully in the.
I'd put
in
Vin
the,
Scully in too, but he's in a different lane.
back,
than
especially
Cosell.
back then, it was Brooklyn or New York or L.A. But
And
otherwise, you
Scully
didn't get to hear
was
him.
strictly he dabbled in television, but he was a play-by-play guy.
He did the catch, the Dwight Clark
He
catch.
did, yes, but he did a lot of that stuff. But when I think of Vin Scully, I think of the Dodgers play-by-play.
So Brent
Cosell
Musburger, Bob Costas,
Bob
those
Costas,
guys would also
Jim
be
Nance,
in-
Jim
on the-
Nance.
Yeah,
you
there'd be
put
others
them
on the list, but Cosell also
Jim McKay.
Jim McKay. Well, and very different. But
We're probably giving people names they don't even know who they are.
but Cosell also did
Well,
it.
but that's what
was
Google's for.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Go look
Alexa.
up Jim McKay.
Did I tell you guys about? So I am talking to Alexa, and I went, Alexa, what's the temperature going to be like today? And I realized I was talking to a tuna fish can. 'Cause they're both next to each other in the kitchen.
I would vote for Cosell.
Yeah, I would,
Overall,
well, he also helped invent the genre.
He did.
So that
He
was
really
different
did.
for him.
Well, his relationship, and you mentioned it with Muhammad
Ali.
Ali, was unlike anything.
You seem very truculent. Well, I don't know what that is, but if it's good, I'm that.
And Muhammad Ali would tell you, and I did have a conversation once with him in a hotel room in Vegas, and he said that he played along with it because Cosell did so much for his career
Sure.
that he played along with it rather than fighting it, that he could have this bantering, argumentative discussion with Cosell, and they both were enriched by this, and their reputations were strengthened by this relationship.
I have a very unique Muhammad Ali story to tell you. I was a young boy. My brother and I, our birthdays are a few days apart. My dad would take us over to the Garden to go see a Ranger game every year. And he took us to Toots Shores, the famous restaurant where everybody went all the time. And so we're sitting there, and I'm 9 or 10 years old, and my dad says, there's Muhammad Ali. And I go, wow. And then he goes, you should, go see if he'll autograph for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And he goes, yeah, you should. And he kind of egged me on. And it's unlike my dad. So I went over there, and he did sign these giant Toots Shore menus. He had been stripped of his title, but he wrote World Heavyweight Champion, Muhammad Ali. And years later in Denver, I think it was the mid to late 80s, Ali's popularity had waned through Parkinson's and stuff. His profile had become low, and he was making an appearance at a car dealer on South Broadway. And they sent me out to do a live shot. And I go out there, and there's literally like 3 salesmen, Ali, one of his friends, me, and a cameraman. There's no one there. And so as I talked to him, I said, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I met you as a young boy in New York at Toots Shores. And he looks at me, and through the veil of his Parkinson's, he looks at me and he goes, you were wearing red pants. And if it's just a line, it's tremendous, because I don't know what I was wearing. But if you remembered, it's unbelievable. But I was just,
Isn't that
go,
amazing?
And I go, what a great thing to say. It was like, I could, sure, maybe, I don't know.
I think we should start using that when people come out.
Up here.
I mean,
Can I tell
not
you
that
my
we're
quick
in that category, but
we'll all have these Ali stories. Maury Povich sent me out in 1975 to National Airport in D.C. because Ali was coming into town, and he wanted me to get an interview with him as he got off the plane. And I can remember this like yesterday. I'm nervous as hell. Ali comes off the plane, and I approach him, and he goes, sure, young fella, I'll do it, but here's the deal. You're going to have to walk with me through the airport, but I'll be glad to do it. And I'll never forget. For the next 10 minutes, I put a microphone in his face. He went in, he hugged every baby.
Yeah.
He went to every shoe shine guy and shadow boxed them. And he went up to just people and hugged them. And it was like nothing I had ever seen before. And at one point he says to me, you keeping up all right? He was amazing.
So today's trivia question is, who did Muhammad Ali fight in Denver?
Lyle Alzado.
Alzado, Mile High Stadium.
I think there are people here that don't know
Don't know
that
that.
Muhammad Ali fought in the old Mile High Stadium
Yes.
against Lyle Alzado. And Ali was doing it as an exhibition, but
Lyle thought it was real.
he did. So Muhammad Ali just beat the shit out of him.
Really? You want to fight? Do you really want to
really
fight?
wanna fight.
Because I happen to be good at this.
Lyle thought he was, and he probably was. Lyle was a Golden Gloves boxer. I was talking about Lyle yesterday with a friend of mine, and Lyle was a good.
Yeah.
We could talk about. I'm loving this show because we're going all over the
We're
place.
wandering.
Here. But Lyle actually thought. You know this because we both covered it. Lyle thought, "Oh, I'll get in there and He
Rocky.
hasn't faced anybody like me. And Ali got in there with him and kind of looked over to people like, is this guy serious?
He really wants
I'm going to hold him up, but if he gives me a hard time, I'll knock the shit out of him.
I'll take him down.
Yeah, so, but God rest Lyle's soul. Lyle was a wonderful, crazy character who, when I got to Denver, was arguably the most popular.
You talk about unique characters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder
Lyle
to be.
Lyle was an incredible person.
That's how I started when I was inducted because of him. I was inducted
not
into
because
the
of me.
Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, but there's a true story. During the exhibition season, the Broncos would allow me to fly on the team plane because they were coming back from Seattle after a game. And I was doing a sport magazine story on Lyle Alzado, and getting to know him. And they would give the team players box lunches, chicken and a sandwich and a couple of beers on the coming back. Let me makes the story faster. We're drinking beer, we're talking, eating fried chicken. He falls asleep. He'd played most of the exhibition game. And so I'm sitting there, and we hit the Rocky Mountains, and there's a great deal of tumbling in the sky.
Right.
And I throw up on Lyle Alzado. And I tell this story at every speech I ever give, and it still sticks with me. And I threw up all over Lyle Alzado, who was asleep. And all the other players were laughing because they know that Lyle Alzado, who's fought Muhammad Ali, is going to wake up and just beat the shit out of me like you can't believe. And so I go back to the bathroom, and I come back very quietly, and I'm wiping my vomit off of Lyle Alzado's T-shirt or whatever he's wearing. And he wakes up, he looks down, and he sees this, and he sees me, and he said, "What the hell?" I said, "Do you feel better, Lyle? Are you feeling better, Lyle?" And the players are laughing their ass off, and he went, What happened? What happened? He said, "Get out of my way, I got to go to the bathroom." He said, "You got another shirt I can wear?" or something like that. He never realized.
You got away with it.
Yeah,
you
that I
poor
got away.
thing. You threw up in your sleep.
Hey, two things. Orders of business, because we got to wrap it up here. Because
We do. We're having
fun.
Open.
We're open-ended.
Cosell, Lyle
We'll just keep
Alzado,
going now.
We got to be
Ali.
reasonable. First, read the board. It says, behind Woody, the blackboard says, "I choose to jingle just some of the way." Little holiday message from our
There's
friend.
a little bit of laughter there.
Anybody got gears? Anybody want to grind anything?
I don't really
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
I'll make this short. We have this is not really a political statement. It's a statement of what's going on in the world. That we have someone who's in the administration, in the federal government, who says that we should go back to wearing suits and ties on airplanes.
Because that's the problem with air travel.
I don't like people putting their feet up on the shag carpet and so on. If you get a front seat and people put their feet up, I don't want to smell your feet. I don't want to look at your feet. I don't want to see you in clothing that's wrong. But I do remember, as a young man, dressing up to get on the airplanes and going to movie theaters.
Yes, or ball games.
And the two things that I always remember distinctly about that is everybody sat quietly in the movie theater and nobody caused problems on airplanes. So what grinds my gears is I don't agree that we have to go back to wearing suits and ties and dresses and stuff on planes, but can we have a little bit more civility in movie theaters? I stopped going to movie theaters because people were talking about people who grew up in another era. I'm not going to pick on a certain group. Watched every movie on TV, and they could talk to the TV because you're in your room. But talking to and saying it, I remember distinctly when the movie Jaws came out, and they were going, "Oh, she's going to die in the first scene," because they've seen it 5 times. So, making it short, but I think that people should just realize if you're getting on an airplane, be a little bit civil in terms of what you say to people, because every day, if you look on the internet, somebody's getting in the fight because
I think you're 100% spot on with this. I get upset two things on the airplane. When a guy comes on in flip-flops and a wife beater and torn up shorts and takes his flip-flops off, it bothers me. The second thing that bothers me on a plane is when a guy takes his cell phone out when he lands and makes a call and acts like he's by himself and there's 40 people around. You make a great point about the movie theaters. And again, this goes to cell phones. When we went to theaters, there were no cell phones. But now you got a guy talking like this on his cell phone.
You're not going to believe this movie. I'm watching. And in the second scene, it's about to come up because I've seen this movie before. They're going to tell you that the butler did it.
It's all true.
Yeah,
Best thing about this show today is you talking about your dad, telling you to go over.
Which wasn't like my dad. You guys
know,
never knew him, but he was just a low-key man, and he just knew that was...
Yeah, my dad was low key too, and you reminded me of something. I mean, one of I lost my dad in 2018, and one of my favorite memories is he would travel all week, and he would get home, and he'd say, "I'll make it up to you." And on Sunday afternoon, he would take my brother and I down to the Boston Garden to see Wilt go against Russell.
Yeah.
He would take us out for, in his words, a bowl of spaghetti in the North End, and then we'd go back at 7:30 and watch the Bruins play the Rangers, and we would fall asleep in the car on the way home. But it was such a wonderful memory. That was what I think of when I think of my dad.
That's a great feeling this time of year, too, especially when you
you
think
always
of your
think
family.
back on family instead. And when I heard that about your dad, I could just see, not knowing your dad, but saying, "Hey, Tom,
you should go bother him."
My dad died in his 40s, but he was a gigantic sports fan. He took me to see Tennessee play Ole Miss in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was a year and a half old.
Oh, he wanted to start you out, right?
I said to my mother later, I said, what was the day like? She said it was snowing.
Yeah.
And your dad just wanted to introduce you to college football.
Yeah.
And so my dad introduced me to stock car racing and to wrestling because, forgive me, college football wasn't as big in the South as was
NASCAR
wrestling,
and
professional wrestling, and stock car racing.
Yeah.
And so if I had a love growing up, it was of a guy named Bigfoot Riley, who was a stock car driver, because apparently he had a big foot.
Big, heavy foot.
It's funny how we all have memories of our fathers that have to do with sports.
Well, and you think our lifelong love affair, all of us, we've had with sports, and people who watch this show, the same thing. If you have that kind of passion for sports, you might have found it on your own.
That's why, if I could say, that's why this is such a troubling time in society in the United States, but it's a troubling time in sports because of what we've talked about today in regard to what college football has become, what gambling has become in terms of its relationship with sports, and it's an uneasy, distasteful air. This metaphor's getting worse and worse.
No, but I know where you're going.
It is such a terrible time. And you talked about the last week where politics is seeped into sports.
And vice versa. Yeah.
But sports is not in a good place.
No. Somewhere there's some 10-year-old boy
when we're sitting here,
will always remember his dad losing $80 on the Broncos this week because of Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We start the show with.
Yeah, you're right.
How many people are sitting today going, man, I thought, how could that happen at the end of a NFL game?
Yeah.
And people don't have belief in the NFL. They certainly don't have belief in what's going on with the NBA and what we've seen there. Baseball, where you have a relief pitcher throws a ball on purpose
to win a couple $100,000
so that somebody can win money.
We all think that. I wonder what the Gen Z.
As a Gen Z person,
there you go.
I said I'm from the South Stands. Me and my dad have season tickets. He does not bet on games, though he did bet on the Chiefs game just because of our conversation. I wanted him to win. He bet on the Broncos.
But your love affair with sports.
But what do you think of the state, with what Woody said, what's your reaction to that?
Well, I agree that it loses some of its sparkle, but it also does depend on how your family handles it. So in my case, I think that I'll raise my kids with kind of that same shine and keep away from the sports betting, and that we still believe in Mile High Magic and that it can be very pure and very beautiful.
You
That's
know,
what
it's hard to stay away from the sports betting when every young kid has his phone and has a
Yeah.
DraftKings or whatever it is.
Fantasy or
yeah,
whatever.
I mean, we didn't grow up with that. You know, I mean, gambling was like something we never. The only thing I remember about gambling is my father would bet me 10 cents on every New York Giant game. You know, and
Yeah.
we never talked about gambling. It wasn't.
And it was
part
who
of our-
won or lost. Do you remember like point spreads
No,
or
I
odds?
remember point spreads. You're
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember my dad every year driving me down to Yankee Stadium so that I could see Jim Brown go against Sam Huff.
Pretty
Because he
good.
wanted me to see Jim Brown. And I don't know if...
And see Yankee Stadium
see
or the
Yankee
Boston
Stadium.
Garden. Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and those are all my memories with him.
So let's do this. We've all had nice, fond recollections of our parents. Well, it's all been our dads, but how we fell in love with sports. And instead of thinking about the grimy gambling, the underside, and the descent in some ways of sports, let's just remember the good stuff because it's holiday
good.
season. Let's think about, let's wrap it up on our dads and
remember
what
how
they've
many
meant to us.
times our mothers drove us to Little League games.
Yeah.
And my mother taking her to, when she moved out here, taking her to a Rockies game, and we're sitting on the third base side, and she says to me, "Son, you need to be a little bit kinder to the Rockies."
Have you met me?
Mom, you know who I am?
Have you read my columns?
You know what else, though?
That was a great
Here's three
moment in my
guys
life.
who were all lucky. We had a mom and dad in the house.
Yeah.
I was going to
And-
say, shout out to single dads, single moms as well,
Yeah,
but in my case, single dad.
I mean, I got
He
kids
drove
in
me
my
to cheer
family.
and to Bronco games.
My kids are-
works.
yeah, it's just a different world now where I got a grandkid that grows up in a single family house, and it's just a different, and they're in the majority now, not the minority.
Well, if you guys want to share any of your stories, we can always reach us, ath@guerrillasports.net. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to talk more about the NFL and the weekend betting show, but this has been a very fun show. Great chat, great discussion, as always, with Natasha and Woody
And I would
and
just
Ron.
like to say very shortly, you have another show on this network, and it's called
The other Tom Green show.
Thank you. And we don't do enough promoting because you've got
You've done a great job with that.
Rich Carlos last.
Great guests. I've had fortunate to have a lot of relationships. I've had you on. I'm going to get Woody on soon. I don't know if I can afford Natasha, but we'll see.
Man.
We'll
But
see.
you're doing something.
Well, but
you and I talked about it. You're doing a good job getting guests because
You-
that's the hardest
And
thing
let me
to
ask
do.
you ask her if it's true that she's letting her fingernails grow until the Broncos win another Super Bowl.
Uh-oh.
Maybe off the air. That's
On
it,
that
you know.
note,
Hey, by the way,
That
my
suggests
guest,
they're real.
who's your guest?
my guest this week, Kim Christensen.
Oh,
So that'll
God.
be
Can
a fun show.
Okay. Again, and we both love her. I don't know
No, all
that
three
I
of
have
us.
worked with in my 40-some-odd years here in Denver, with a nicer person than Kim.
I think everyone feels that way, and
Yep.
that's the magic of Kim, and it comes
Yep.
through on TV. That's
It
who
sure
she
does.
is, and that's
Every time I see Kim, it makes me feel good.
Well, do you want to be part of the studio audience?
Maybe I'll just stand on the side and
you and I
wave at
both.
Kim.
I felt sorry for her last night, actually, because they were having to do additional news or something.
Right.
And the two guys are talking about, two young guys talking about the Broncos game last night. And she's sitting there going, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
but nicely.
She's sitting there going, I've dealt with better.
in a very nice way. All right, fellas, we'll see you
All right.
on the Weekend Betting Show, and we'll see you again back here for another edition of After the Horn next week. Thanks for joining us.